Today we have someone from down under, from Australia. Robyn will be talking to us on how she uses Gottman methods and works with couples using TEAM CBT. Welcome to Talking TEAM CBT, where you'll hear stories from therapists and clinicians around the world on their journey and experience with TEAM CBT. Welcome back to Talking TEAM CBT. This week, we have someone from down under. We have Robyn Blake-Mortimer, who's a clinical psychologist in Australia. Welcome, Robyn.
Thank you so much, Angela. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and we met through Mike Christensen. He did a training. Did I remember that right?
That's correct. That's when we were both level 3s, and we were both trying to develop more skills to be able to run training independently. And it seems to have gone from strength to strength in your case. I've been just admiring what you've been achieving and the energy levels that you've brought to the community. And now this opportunity to work with you. So it's lovely.
Yeah, A+ on stroking there. You did some great training down in Australia yourself, and I love that you're doing training and you're now level 4. Before we jump to that piece, tell us a little bit. How did you get involved in TEAM? Like, when was it? What was it like for you? What's your story?
Yeah, it's kind of a convoluted story. I was working as a psychologist and had my own practice in Australia and was madly in love with this guy and still am. And so I moved to New York to be with him. And unfortunately, my qualifications were not recognised as readily in New York State. And it was, well, you can be a marriage and family therapist, but you need to actually get some more supervision. And I think it was 15,000, or it felt like 15,000 clinical hours. And at that time, it was quite depressing and, oh no, but I was really fortunate to meet Elise Munoz at her psychotherapy practice in New York. And she introduced me to TEAM. And it's gone from there, because I thought it wasn't what I was searching for as such, but it actually really added to my understanding of what I already knew about how to do good work. But you know the saying about this is like CBT on steroids? That's David Byrne's favourite quote. I felt like that when she pulled out, this is the daily mood log. And suddenly it was so much more focused and so much more powerful, and had the details about the goal setting incorporated into that. And I thought, this is really special. So it was necessity, and then it ended up being this amazing blessing that I learned more about it and just couldn't stop going up through the levels in that way.
Yeah, that daily mood log really does provide that framework, that structure. I think one of the trainers I heard said like scaffolding. If you're trying to redo a beautiful building, it's like the scaffolding that holds all the tools.
Yeah.
Right. It's not going to fix the building on its own, but it does help you hold the tools. And sounds like that was a great introduction for you. Well, I'm wondering, what is, because you were practicing beforehand, before learning about TEAM, what's an area that really improved in your practice using TEAM?
And it's really difficult to answer your questions, because it's so much like it's a bigger question than what we're talking about. I think the really lovely thing about it is that it brings together the counselling and the empathy skills, as well as the CBT. So I do a lot of work with couples, and I'm trained as a Gottman certified therapist. And that is a really wonderful system, and it gives a lot of fabulous methods. But in order to do couples work, you really have to make sure that you are staying connected to both parties in the room. So you can't just automatically take the female side or automatically take the male side. You've got to hold them both somehow. And so that's where the 5 secrets really came into play, about slowing it down and making sure that I was taking the time to do the thought empathy and the feeling empathy, repeating back what I was hearing and checking in if I had it right, as well as quite a lot of stroking, because they were in the room. I've heard people say that they would almost rather die or go to a torture chamber than come to couples counselling, because it's like you're dragged there because it's an ultimatum. Yeah. You come along or I'm going to leave you type stuff.
Right.
So there's a lot of the working with resistance and acknowledging why, gee, it must be difficult. I wouldn't want to be here and have someone tell me what's going wrong, or sit here and have to listen to people moaning. And it's really building that connection and that rapport that I thought I was good at. And I mean, I was pretty good at it, but now I've been able to take it to another level, being much more deliberate about what I'm doing and checking in as to what's happening with the couple in front of me. So that's one thing I love in that way.
Yeah, that connection and building the rapport. And as you're talking about rapport, my eyes are darting around because I was trying to find my interview.
Yeah.
Like, where did my interview form go? Because I want to make sure I have all my questions for you. I still can't do this from memory. Well, Robyn, I was saying how my eyes were darting around trying to look at your interview form. And one thing I'm looking at when you're filling that in was you mentioned some yes butting and how TEAM has helped you in that area. Tell us a little bit about that. How does TEAM help you with the yes button therapy?
Yeah, and this is my absolutely favourite part in it, because it's so upsetting when you really want to help the clients who come to you, and it's like they say, yes, I want your help. I want to learn how to stop drinking, or I want to learn how to stop having so many arguments with my partner, or I really want to learn how to get on better with my kid. And you do we've got all sorts of tools and I can help you with that. And why don't we do this? And even after you've spent enough time understanding what it was that the person wants and how difficult it is for them, sometimes it used to be this feeling of no matter what you were doing, they'd say, yes, that sounds like a good idea, but I tried that. Or yes, but that wouldn't work for me. Or people who want to lose weight, yes, but I've tried that so many times. And what about this? And you don't understand, I've got so many social engagements. And so the beauty of the TEAM part in the agenda setting and the motivational tools is that you really examine that with them. And it's like I'm trying to say this in a way that's respectful and not going to sound totally kind of sneaky, but it does appeal to a little bit of the sneaky part of me, because I was quite oppositional as a child. And some of my close friends still say, yeah, Robyn, you continue to be a little bit that way. And it's sort of like, okay, they say it with love, but I don't like being told what to do. And I think that's what happens with our clients. Nobody likes to be told, why don't you just do this? So apparently growing up, whenever my parents really wanted the door to be shut, they would know that I was somewhat oppositional. And so and I was more like this, and they would say, Robyn, whatever you do, don't shut that door. So I would go, shut the door. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit strange these days. But that is the heart of why it's like with your clients, you're going to say, okay, you really want to get some help with managing your overeating, or say your comfort eating. And that sounds like a really good goal and I can help you with that. But before we start, let's really look at all of the lovely things that that comfort eating says about you. Let's look at those beautiful good qualities that it shows about you. And the person is there saying, I don't know what. And then you start to draw out how it shows that they're sociable, or how it shows that they really appreciate taste and they're kind of in touch with sensuality and pleasure and enjoyment, or community building, about breaking bread together and meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And you make this lovely list of all of the reasons that it would be a really good idea to keep that comfort eating habit, or whatever it is. And it's like the person stops feeling bad about themselves, stops feeling beaten down, and then by themselves, at their own volition, they start arguing for change.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the cost-benefit analysis of what are the benefits of keeping this habit or this behaviour, and I don't even look at are there any negatives. I'm just focused on that first column, and I say, so look at all of these things it says about you. Maybe we just want to stay the same. And then suddenly, when the person feels like you're not going to give them the help they said they wanted, they sort of think, actually, it doesn't work that well for me, and it's not good for my health. And they start to argue for change. They are arguing for themselves about this, instead of them arguing with you. So it's really a beautiful way of honouring the resistance, because these habits that people have got and these negative behaviours, whatever they are, they're always there for a really good reason. And when you argue to say, look, you've got to change, you've got to do that, of course people say, no way, forget that. When you say, oh, well, it looks like you're a great person, you've got this, you've got that, you've got admirable qualities, do you really think you need to change? Then it's sort of like, oh, I'm being valued, I'm being heard, and yes, I do want to change. I don't like feeling like this, or hiding at the back of the group photos or something like that. So I'm talking a little bit about the weight, because I have just recently developed a self-help treatment plan on how to beat comfort eating. So I'm unashamedly putting in a little advertisement for that at the moment.
Great. We'll definitely link to your website in the description below if it's on YouTube, and check the show notes out when this is out on the podcast. So definitely want to send people your way for that. I love what you're saying, that the tool that helps with the yes butting, which is, kind of the clinician's, burden, annoyance, whatever we have to bear, because that's the yes butting kind of against our training. It actually, the same tool that works for that actually empowers the client for change. It gives them that internal motivation, that voicing, wait a minute, I want to do this. And so they no longer, it's not just about stopping the yes butting, but actually empowering them for that change, which is super cool. More than one.
I love it.
And you mentioned you're starting this program for weight loss and things. I'm wondering, how has TEAM impacted you personally as well?
That's a really good question. And most recently, it's been with having helped me to lose 14 kilos since the holiday season. And that would not have been possible without really looking at the TEAM skills of, let's side with all of the good reasons to stay.
Eat all you want.
More chunky and eat whatever I want, whenever I want. Versus, well, actually, what are going to be the long-term consequences of continuing like that? And I think the team model actually helped tap into some of the thoughts that I had, which was, it's hopeless, it's not going to work, you're too old. The evidence about dieting is you take it off and then you do yo-yo dieting. So, and everyone says, you know, once you've got to menopause, it's not going to happen. Well, that's kind of defeatist thinking. So it was really helpful to go through some of the basic skills about what was happening here, but also, and this is how it links together in this really interesting way for me, I did actually find out that when I was reading David Burns's chapter that's for free on his website about habits and addictions, he was going through some really good reasons to continue with certain habits. And some of it was because you want to rebel. And I mean, I can relate to that. I mean, sorry, I can't help. I was a preacher's kid. We've got to do a little bit of rebellion. It comes with the territory. But there's also this sense of, he was writing about some women who actually wanted to hang on to excess weight because it's a bit of protection. It was a way to keep them sort of safe from any unwanted male attention. And that was a really interesting thing for me, because I've worked with women who used to come to me for hypnosis, which was just hypnotize me and fix it. But you can't do the hypnotize someone and fix it without looking at reasons why they want to stay or need to stay the way they are. And sometimes those reasons are hidden underneath. And so what came out with this when I was doing this was not that I was wanting to continue to be overweight to keep my husband at arm's distance. It was, I wanted to continue to be overweight to prove that he was going to love me no matter how fat I got. And it was a very interesting discovery. And when I realized that, it was, oh, who am I hurting here? And what's this going to do for my long-term quality of life? And so the hidden emotion and a bit of this, you hear about anger going on that people don't like to express. I was a little bit angry with my dear hubby, and I wasn't very good at expressing it. So it's kind of funny. We do the 5 secrets of communication and assertiveness and know how to build that really well with our clients. I've really been excited about taking that and building that in my own personal relationships, especially around the being assertive and actually prioritizing some of what I need, not just what other people need. And that's been a really important growth experience for me, and important too, because often we have very nice, lovely clients who are incredibly kind and self-sacrificing and anxious, or they're just eating or drinking themselves into bad places because they haven't been given the courage or the tools or the insight as to there is a different way you could address some of these issues instead of burying it like that. So TEAM has been amazing for me personally, health-wise, and now professionally. It's helping me broaden my practice from more of the face-to-face work with people in front of me to training other psychologists and therapists. And that's really exciting to see other people get really excited and think, hey, I can do this. And then you hear more success stories from people who've trained with you. I love doing that.
Yeah, I do too. I'm right with you. I love the training part and doing group work and things. And it's pretty exciting and rewarding experience for sure. Well, we're got a few more minutes, and then we're gonna have to wrap up. But maybe tell
Yeah.
me a little. What's your favorite method? I mean, we don't have one. We're all team therapists, and I'm being cheeky when I say name one. But you were telling me a little bit about, you said something about it, your
Mm,
emotions were hidden, and I know we call it hidden emotion. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
yeah. Mm. Actually, I would say, yes, this is one of the methods that I think has got overlooked a little bit, especially in Australia, where we're very much CBT based with our training. We don't have the psychodynamic strength, but CBT is often criticised because it doesn't go deep enough. It's not looking at the underlying root causes of
Hmm.
what's driving some of these behaviours or these symptoms. And so the hidden emotion is very much like, hey, what's going on in your life here and now that maybe you've been given the message that you're not allowed to talk about? Maybe, you're saying that you're feeling really nervous about going to the in-laws or going for the next family function or what have you. And you're saying it, you don't know what it is, you just get really panicky about it. I wonder, could there be something hiding underneath that panic that maybe we need to address? And the reason I like this is because I've done training in hypnosis, and we've got the picture of the iceberg, and the top of the iceberg is only a tiny weeny little bit above
Mm-hmm.
the sea level, and
Yeah.
underneath there's all this other stuff. And so it's really kind of freeing for someone to think, gee, actually, I'm really cross with my mother-in-law because she never serves this, or she always just complains about having to cater for vegetarians. And it just is so annoying. But I can't say anything because I want to be a good daughter-in-law or what
Mm-hmm.
have you.
Mm-hmm.
So with the hidden emotion, you identify the problem, you bring it to the surface, and often it could be anger or some other taboo emotion that you're not supposed to have. And then it's like, okay, we know what it is now. Let's look at some skills that you might need to be able to deal with that. Maybe you would like to have a conversation with your mother-in-law, or maybe you would like to at least talk to your partner about how this is making you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And the person will say, oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, that would just be too awful. It's like, well, yeah, I guess that's okay. We can keep it the way it is if you like, go back to sitting with open hands. Or we can say, maybe there's a way you could raise it in a really tactful, really caring, really diplomatic way, which is still owning how you feel sad or how you feel a bit unwanted in that situation. And it's really beautiful to have that sense of being able to coach people to develop more skills to say, this is what I need as well. These are some of my emotions and my feelings. And that's important. And I think that's the gift TEAM gives, that it's this beautiful structure and framework, and it brings the counselling skills together with the more sort of flexible, creative psychodrama or symbol work or expressive therapies or anything else, along with CBT. So it's your way to get a really systematic, clear framework about how to pull the best from every single school of therapy that you might have ever dabbled in. But it gives you this beautiful framework to keep on making sure that you are assessing what you are doing and getting the feedback so that you're getting the correct testing and know that you're being effective. And that is what's changed my life. And I really hope that the listeners decide that they want to follow up more on that, either in Canada or the US or even down under, down here in Australia. I'd love to contact more people about how to spread the word about just this wonderful approach.
Yeah, and I love how you tied in how like some of these tools overlap. Like you were talking about assertiveness training a little bit before, and we would say we call them I feel statements and self-disclosure, and there's all kinds of tools that
Mm.
fit into that. and how you tied that with that hidden emotion, when the client actually comes to the realization of, oh, wait a minute, this is what's bugging me. And now we have to deal with it. Oh,
Yeah.
no, I don't know if I want to deal with it. Now we can sit with open hands. So we just keep using these tools in lots of different ways. David calls them keys on a piano, because we may play a different tune with a different client, and we don't just play scales over and
Yes.
over and over, which would be extremely boring for someone like me who's ADHD. Well, we're out of time. I have one last question for you before we close.
Okay.
And that's we call it our, sort of our motto question. Motto is not the right one, but a word I'm thinking of. Anyways, if all the therapists and trainers, clinicians, or even teachers out there were listening, what's one thing about TEAM you'd like them to know?
Just one thing. Keep an open mind and go and take some courses in it, because it can change your life and your practice.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And I know that a lot of the people we've been interviewing, in fact, almost all of them, it's a little bit of happenstance coming upon TEAM. So hopefully these videos and podcasts will help more happenstance happen out there. Thank you so much for being with us today, Robyn.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, Angela. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.